Hi, Russell Mark from Go Shooting. This week we're going to talk about one of the most debatable topics in trap shooting, the starting position or hold point for your shotgun when you're calling for the target to be released. In this video we're specifically going to talk about down the line, or American trap as it's sometimes known, but in a future video we'll also cover the holding positions for Olympic trap. Traditionally, many of us were taught to shoot down the line by dividing the trap house up into these 5 sectors. The first clay to represent the holding position for station number 1, the second clay the station number 2 starting point, and so on. Not a bad starting point, very old school though, and certainly not right for every trap layout or every shooter. Today I'm going to use station 2 as our example, but follow the same procedure on all 5 stations.
The first thing you have to do when you arrive at the shooting station is to establish the correct stance. In a future video we'll go into great detail for both right and left-handed shooters on what all the correct down the line stances are to be.
Then we need to find our ideal hold point. To begin with, we look at the point on the trap house where the extreme left-hand target will appear, and we look at the point where the extreme right-hand target will appear. From those 2 points, we simply divide it by 2, and the midway position becomes our starting point. So once again, the target on our left will show where the extreme left-hand target appears, and the target on our right will show where the extreme right-hand target appears from the trap house.
Now you may think that this position is the same on every trap house, but the reality is that is far from the truth.
This particular trap, for instance, has a dual hopper, which means it has 2 throwing arms, one throwing in a clockwise direction and the other in an anti-clockwise manner. These types of traps have become quite popular. The Australian National Ground in Wagga Wagga currently uses these Mattarelli machines exclusively. These traps, by their mechanical nature, will always throw targets that are closer to the centre of the trap house. Single traps with large hoppers will generally be deeper in the house, therefore causing the targets to appear wider from the centre. Both are perfectly legal, but your ideal hold will differ from trap to trap. Now, if you're a one-eyed shooter, this is where today's lesson ends. I mean one eye by having to close an eye for any reason or to put a patch over your shooting glasses. One-eyed shooters can't hold any higher above the trap house because their leading hand will cause them a blind spot. Therefore, starting on top of the trap house roof is a more logical solution.
So for our one-eyed shooters, this will be the starting point. Softly focus out through the end of your barrel and just over the top of the trap house. For our two-eyed shooters though, I'll be asking you to hold your gun well above this point.
Now I know my mid-exit point, I'd ask you now to look in the skyline above the trap house and look at the point in that skyline where you believe the extreme right and the extreme left-hand targets are being broken. Roll! 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 Roll!
Now draw an imaginary line between these 2 points and again pick the halfway point.
Now between that point and your trap house exit point, you'll have your hold point on what I call the 50-50 line.
This midway point is pretty easy to establish.
How high you hold above the trap house on this hold line is a matter of personal preference. It comes down to experience, even weather conditions, particularly in the wind.
I believe the less you have to move your gun to break the target, the less chance you have of making an error. I like to teach anywhere from 1/4 of the way to halfway above the trap house. Many go higher and many go a little lower.
If you hold too high, you run the risk of slowing down your barrel so much that you've got no gun speed and you'll shoot behind angled targets. If you do the opposite and hold too low, then you run the risk of overshooting targets. Finding the sweet spot is the trick. I will warn you that one of the biggest problems with holding your gun too high is actually moving the gun from your hold point before the target actually gets to that position. You'll see the target sometimes in your peripheral vision and you'll make a move upwards before the target gets there. If you do that under pressure, you'll be in a world of pain. However, by finding the 50-50 hold point line, you're putting the mathematical odds of probability on your side.
By this, I simply mean you are placing your gun in the centre point where there is an equal chance of the target going either left or right from that point.
This tool that you can use of holding above the trap house is a distinct advantage a two-eyed shooter has over his or her one-eyed opponent.
The big weapon that a two-eyed shooter has, of course, is his or her peripheral vision, which allows you to see the target leave the trap house no matter what direction the target takes, as long as your eyes are softly focused out through the end of your barrel. For those technically minded, this is a summary of everything we've discussed today. And for those that just want to know where the hold points are, these are the 5 different hold points from the 5 shooting lanes on this particular layout. Again, every layout is different, so don't make the assumption that all layouts have the same machinery inside the trap house. That is definitely not the case. You do need to have a good look at the targets being thrown before you shoot. As an example, here's a completely different layout with a different trap altogether, and you'll notice the hold points are different. On stations 1 and 2, the hold point for a halfway zone is further to the left. Station 3 is pretty much always the same, but on stations 4 and 5, the hold points on this single hopper machine are far further to the right.
I hope this helps you on your way. As always, from everyone here at Go Shooting, we look forward to seeing you at the range real soon.